And we did touch on employment in those days. That really wasn't much unemployment then.
No, no. And I mean, until I started the Trade and Industry Committee back in the early 80s to try and stop what then appeared to be an appalling situation of unemployment, we hadn't had any unemployment at all in the town of any consequence, and neither have we now, because I guess West Berkshire is seeing more unemployment certainly happening in the last year than it has for almost any time.
Yes. What were the wages like in those days?
They were pretty low. I can well remember my father talking of the rates for building trade workers when you were actually receiving 1 and a penny halfpenny to 1 and threepence halfpenny an hour, and those odd halfpennies were awfully important. So a bloke on a 40-hour week was going to actually get paid less than 50 shillings a week. So wages were pretty low.
But people managed on them.
I suppose they did, because I mean, your standards were totally different, were they not? And you didn't expect to have foreign holidays or on motor cars. So you cut your your cloth to suit, and you were pretty happy. I don't remember ever being unhappy as a boy. I guess I must have been, but I don't remember it.
No, I think most people feel like that.
Yeah.
When I was talking to the equals, they said, well, we all had our back gardens or our allotments, and
that's right.
Grew the food from them. Several people kept the old pig in the backyard, and you were sort of self-sufficient.
I could not get an allotment. When I first got married in 1951, there wasn't an allotment available in the town. I had to go in a queue, and it was only by the fact that Margaret's great-grandfather allowed me to have 5-pole of his 20-pole plot over on Strong Grove Field that I actually began to be in a garden. And it was pretty essential to the economy, was an allotment.
Where were the allotments?
The major allotments were at Strong Grove, at Eddington, at the Catholic Church, going up the footpath to the school, right across there to what was Dodd's Nursery, which then abutted the lane going up, Bulpit Lane going up to the old cricket ground and now to the Warnoil ground. That was totally taken over for horticulture, because part of it was Dodd's Nursery and the rest was allotments. The breach, in front of the breach, and all the way up the path going up to the school was all allotments, so they were everywhere. And still you couldn't get one.
Well, it was an important part of one's life, wasn't it?
Yep.
Industry. Now, can you solve the problem for me? The mission.
Yep.
Now, that is variously referred to by people as Salvation Army, Church Army.
Church Army.
It was Church Army.
Yes.
Because, various people I've interviewed and I get different.
No, Salvation Army, as far as I'm aware, they've never been in. At Ramsbury, yes, but in Ramsbury, no. Church Army. Captain Mansworth was the guy in charge pre-war, and just after the war. Funnily enough, there was an ammunition lorry caught on fire during the war, which was absolutely spectacular, just outside the mission hall, and ammunition was going up all over the place. And I can remember as a boy sneaking down the wall at the side of what we used to call Cinema Hill, watching the ammunition explode. I'd forgotten about that.
Now, when was the demise of the mission hall? When did it close down?
Oh, not until the very recent past, certainly in the last 10 years. Couldn't put an exact date to it. But whilst I was mayor in the period 78 to 81, I certainly was asked to go to attend things there. So it was going then. So it was after that.
Because the Church Army came on hard times, didn't it?
Yes, it did. They didn't actually have anyone as a Church Army officer. Can't remember the name of the last one. Margaret would remember. He married one of the Childs, who their father ran Bodman's. Bodman's was the ultimate in under the chopping, of course. Really was.
What did they do?
Drapers. And then Dobson, Huey Dobson, took it over after the war. But Mr. Childs was the guy who ran it before and after, and during and after the war. And the last Church Army captain that I remember married one of his daughters. But Bodman's was an unbelievable shop.
I remember that name through, as I say, the period I was looking through before the war.
Yeah.
compliment. What other voluntary organisations? What about the band?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about the band?
Can't tell you very much about the band before the war, other than the fact that it was there certainly immediately after the war. The band I got to know because whilst I was in the fire brigade, the guy who played the trombone was a chap called Bill Barnes, who was a considerable trombone player. He used to relate to me stories of the band. But we used to rehearse in Neat Sail Room then, and a chap by the name of Crosball used to be the bandmaster, and Arthur Martin, and various people like that. I can remember Bill Withers. Bill Withers used to play the double bass. Bill Withers was the man who did the undertaking for Dick Bartholomew, because the undertakers then were on the corner of Church Street. And such characters as that, I remember them, but of course they fell on hard times, and it was only when the band was resurrected as a youth band by Mike Raven in the, I suppose, 70s, that the band came back into being again, and of course it had to be rescued again when Mike Raven fell ill. So it's had a fairly checkered history.
But it's doing quite well now, isn't it?
Not badly at all.
So they get quite a lot of engagements.
Oh yes, the band is a thriving organisation now. And I mean, I can remember they came to Legai with me because I was instrumental in starting Twitty, as you probably know. And one of the most marvellous times that I've ever heard the band play was when they played on a Sunday morning in the church in Legai. And I've never heard the band play better. It was totally moving. I saw people in tears over there because it was an incredible experience.
Do they have that type of town band in France?
Oh yes.
They do.
Oh, the town bands proliferate in France. Every town has them. Almost as we used to, because I can remember, I mean, Ramsbury had a dark band. Sure, Napoleon did, but almost every England had two bands at one time. So bands were everywhere, and they still continue that tradition in France, and even in the tiny villages. I mean, to see them march is amusing because every man has a different pair of shoes on. And they range from Wellingtons to Plimsolls, but at least they turn out and they play music. And we've had a great musical association with our French